As some of you may know, the Million Gay March is a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to ensuring that all people will be treated equally under the law. It is based in Southern California and will be dedicated to organizing and promoting an ongoing series of protests and marches against discrimination. My guest today is the founder and president of the Million Gay March movement, Mr. Brandon Santo. Help me welcome Mr. Santo to the show. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for taking the time to do this interview. I know you're very busy at the moment. Tell us, what have you been up to?
Well, this past couple of weeks I've just been trying to help organize and plan some upcoming events and just working with other groups trying to get this stuff figured out.
The Million Gay March, I know you've helped stage your own events and worked in tandem with similar groups. Can you tell our listeners about how Million Gay March operates and what sort of goals you have?
Well, the main point of the Million Gay March is to bring people together. The power of this movement comes from the people, and without the people out there at all these events, the organizations planning them would be nothing. That's one of the reasons why I've decided to team up with some powerful organizations in this movement to help create a fellowship with them to get the word out and get the information out for the people who don't know about the stuff that's going on.
What are some of the other organizations that you've partnered up with?
We've joined up with Join the Impact, which did a series of protests on November 15th all over the country, all over the world even. So we've teamed up with them, and I work closely with Amy and Willow from Join the Impact. And Civil Rights Front in New York, Wet Paint in Seattle. We're working with Marriage Equality and some other event planners. California Outreach, Equality Action Now, just a bunch of pretty big ones to help get the word out.
Let's talk about Proposition 8 specifically in the gay marriage issue, although there's no doubt that the passage of Prop 8 was a bad thing. A lot of people have been exposed to the message of marriage equality because of the outcry and publicity afterwards. As it stands right now, I believe there are three cases that will be heard by the Supreme Court justices. Is that correct?
Yes. They're using three different platforms to try and get it overturned, one of them being saying that Proposition 8 was actually an illegal revision to the Constitution as opposed to just a regular marriage amendment. And since they're saying it's a revision, it didn't go through the process it needs to go through, going to the state legislature and then being put to the people.
Right.
So there's that one, and then the amount of money that came from the Mormon Church that's being challenged because of it being a religious organization.
Right.
So there's a few different ways that they're trying to get it revoked.
And some of the challenges, as far as the Mormon Church, some of the money is believed to have come from out of state, from other Mormon churches outside of California.
Yeah, a huge majority of the money came from outside of California.
Right.
I mean, I think $22 million was given just from the Mormon Church alone, and at least half of that came from out of state.
There also is the issue of uncounted votes. Many groups feel that, of course, these votes should be counted. What do you think is going on with that? Do you think that, is that going to push it closer? Will that ever come about?
The votes, I think that they're going to trend in the same direction that we're going.
Right.
But it's just going to raise the numbers of how many people there were. I don't think it's really going to change the outcome of the election, but it's definitely do need to be counted just so we know where we stand.
Yeah, after this, of course, now many people, and I'm sure you've seen the polling, many people apparently have changed their mind about their vote. Do you think that people were distracted by the election of Barack Obama, the presidential election? They didn't really know exactly what Prop 8 was, because we know that a number of gay groups were not exactly early in terms of getting their message out. There was a lot of distractions, it seems like,
No, I don't really think that people were distracted. I think what it comes down to is the way that the Yes and 8 campaign was run. It was run with lies. I mean, they were saying that gay marriage would be taught in schools,
right,
and that the churches would lose their tax exempt status, and all these lies that they were stating. And the No and 8 campaign wasn't aggressive enough, but we did what we could. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. Is there was a lot of people out here trying to get the word out, trying to get people to understand. And the vote changed big time from 2000. There was a huge increase in our favor from the 2000 vote to now. And it's just getting better. I mean, after this election, we now have 8% of the people who voted yes say that if they voted again today, they would be voting no. So, I mean, that's a huge change in just a month. And not only that, it's been changing all over the country. I read a Newsweek poll last night that says support for gay marriage and equal rights everywhere for gays is up in every state. We're winning in every category in every state except for gay marriage.
Right.
So, I mean, the outcry for equal rights in the gay rights movement is increasing largely after this election.
Many celebrities and other public figures have continued to support the cause, and some of them even collaborated on a musical parody of Property for FunnyOrDie.com, featuring comedians like Jack Black and John C. Reilly and Margaret Cho, of course, who was at the rally, one of the recent rallies. Can you tell us about some of the recent high-profile support your side of this issue has received?
Well, being in California, I mean, we see so many celebrities out at these events. I mean, there's a huge amount of them that come out to these events and help support us. So there's not as many that are out in the forefront and in front of the media, but there's definitely the base of them at the events helping us. I mean, Drew Barrymore's been at some events. Zachary Quinta from Heroes has been at some. You know, there's a lot of people that are out there supporting us. And that musical, that was so funny because I watched that.
Yeah.
And then I saw the jointheimpact.com at the end of it. And I messaged Amy right away. And I was like, I saw that at the end. And she was like, yeah, they called me last night to ask if I could do it. She's like, really? You had to ask my permission if you could use my endorsement for Jack Black? Would anybody say no to that?
Are you worried that some people see Jack Black and stop supporting marriage equality? He's a polarizing figure.
No, I think it'll either help or it won't affect it at all. I mean, he appeals to a younger demographic, which a lot of them are in our favor already.
Right.
So the most it can do there is, you know, help to change their mind a little bit, saying, oh, well, Jack Black doesn't have any problem with it. So, and the older people, they don't like him anyway, so it really won't matter.
Do me a favor, Brandon, and tell my listeners why they really need to care about the situation. I find that a lot of people don't really believe that this is anything they need to care about or be involved with, since it doesn't necessarily involve them. I know the importance, but I just want you to stress the importance of this issue, even if you're not a gay American.
Well, there's a number of things that go into this, and it's not just about being gay or straight. I mean, this is about equality. You know, it comes down to that there's so many laws in all these states where gay people can't adopt, can be fired for being gay. They can be murdered just because of who they love and it not be classified as a hate crime. You know, all we're looking for is equality. We're not trying to corrupt families or hurt churches. We're just, you know, we want to be treated equal. You have to look at it without religious or personal views and just think of it how you would feel if you were put in that situation where you couldn't get married to the person who you loved. You couldn't adopt a child just because of who you love. You know, you couldn't join the military if you wanted to just because of who you love.
Brandon, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and sort of challenge, and I think you're more than up to the challenge. I'm one of those people, let's just say I'm one of those people, you know what, the state decides who gets to marry. Marriage is not a right, it's a privilege. How do you respond to that?
I definitely think that's wrong. The state doesn't decide who gets married. If you're a man and you're a woman under the law, you can go up to the courthouse and apply for a marriage license. If you're two men or two women, you can't do that because of the way that it's done. Marriage is a legal institution. By the laws, it's a legal institution. You've granted rights under that. And people can apply for it, but not everybody can apply for it, the laws that they're choosing right now.
One of the ridiculous talking points I hear from conservative pundits is that if you allow gay marriage, people who want to marry animals and get married in groups will demand the same right. They say that that's why we need a constitutional amendment banning gay marriage. What would you say to that argument?
I always think that's such a ridiculous argument. I mean, an animal can't give consent, first off. And what about group marriage? If there was a divorce, who would split the assets? I mean, how would pensions be awarded? What about custody? I mean, looking at it logistically, a marriage has to do with two people. Two people, not more, and two people, not animals.
Yeah, the way I respond to that when I have callers, on my podcast or on this show,